Hi, everyone. I am Rolando Mendez. I am going to share a little bit about some of the resources we have about Teach Access. Here's a list or an overview of what we will be covering in this 15 minutes. First, in case you don't know who Teach Access is, we're a US-based nonprofit organization founded in 2016, and we collaborate with educational institutions, industry, government, and disability advocacy organizations around the country. And the focus of our work is on teaching accessibility or accessibility education while supporting efforts to teach accessibly and inclusive. And we always like to lead with this. All of our resources and programs are free and do have no cost. Up on the screen, you will see pictures of all of our team. We're a small group consisting of 5 members and 2 interns who help us out with communications and other activities. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the resource or framework for teaching accessibility. And this is a resource that it was created a couple of years ago by our supporters, volunteers, and partners. During the past couple of months, we've been working on improving it and making more useful for educators, especially for those who are not as familiarized with accessibility or those that are still struggling to understand how accessibility applies or can be taught in their own disciplines, especially when they're not from computer science, human computer interaction, etc. So we define accessibility skills as the ability to purposefully create, review, and procure digital products that are both in line with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines and are fully usable by people with disabilities. And we always like to acknowledge that accessibility skills can look different across disciplines, functions, and roles. So probably someone who's an UX designer might employ different skills than the one that is like works in marketing or works in human resources, but accessibility skills are important for every discipline. So our framework consists of four knowledge areas, which is like the foundational knowledge or the know what knowledge is important, and specifically is addressed to all the disciplines. The dispositional knowledge, which is the know why accessibility is important, why are we doing accessibility, and then the applied knowledge or the know-how. How are we going to apply these different skills? During this refresh, we added the professional skills or attributes, which are like soft skills and durable skills that are also needed when engaging in accessibility work, like communication, teamwork, leadership, etc. And within the foundational knowledge, we have disability assistive technology and accessibility needs and accessible design. Under dispositional knowledge, we have historical, legal, and regulatory context. And within applied knowledge, we have accessible design in practice and professional accessible design in practice. Sorry. So in terms of what the foundational knowledge, we think that educators have an opportunity to teach students and expand their understanding of disability by covering a broad range of disabilities and their impact on independence, on participation in everyday life. In terms of common assistive technologies, we also think that it's useful for students to understand assistive technology, their evolution, practical use, and their intersection with this accessibility. And we are not necessarily saying that they should become experts in using assistive technology. They should know how it works because the experts using assistive technologies are people with disabilities. And in terms of accessible design, we recommend helping students develop a strong understanding of accessibility standards and best practice for inclusive product development with a focus on those factors that enhance or impede accessibility. In terms of the know why, we think it's important that educators provide to the student historical understanding of the key frameworks that have shaped disability rights and accessibility, along with an overview of relevant regulatory requirements and standards. And in terms of the know-how, we kind of organize this section based on the software development life cycle, because it's a cycle that could also be applied to other disciplines in terms of the stages. So is getting students to integrate those accessibility concepts at every stage of the product development process, like I mentioned, using the software development cycle as a framework for guidance. And Down on the screen, there's a link, and if you have access to the slide deck, there's a link to the fundamental concepts and skills and framework. And that document, what has is like different suggested topics within each of these knowledge areas, as well as optional learning objectives to help you frame or understand how you can frame the conversations around accessibility in your courses. In terms of professional skills, is providing guidance and applying. The goal of the here is providing guidance and applying these principles across various scenarios, disciplines, and contexts, while introducing accessibility as a professional practice and emphasizing skills for navigating organizational dynamics, managing change, and fostering effective practices. And this is very important because Teach Access are about everyone having some fundamental knowledge about accessibility, but we also want to spark that interest so students become also professionals in accessibility. So that area includes for those that want to become accessibility professionals, but also that need to understand how that works in the workplace, etc. So our resources, at a glance, are three main resources. Up on the screen are graphics for each announcing these resources. But from left to right, I'm sorry. The first one is the curriculum repository, which is a collection of over 350 open educational resources developed by faculty to teach students accessibility concepts and skills in different disciplines. And this includes assignments, lessons, modules, presentations, syllabi, discussions, videos, etc. Those resources are available both in Google and Microsoft document suite versions, and they can be used in a tab because they're by instructors everywhere, because they are housed under license, under a Creative Commons license. Then we have the Accessibility Skills Hiring Toolkit. This is more industry facing because we mentioned that we work a lot with industry, and it kind of provides some examples of descriptions and interview questions to build with your workforce internal capacity. And it kind of exemplifies what would it mean for a UX designer, for human resource specialists to have those accessibility skills, and what are some of the interview questions that you could ask to a candidate applying for that position, and is to help organizations build that capacity internally. And then last but not least are the self-paced accessibility courses. These are about 13 online asynchronous courses, which introduce educators to different accessibility topics, or accessibility topics applied to different disciplines, such as instructional technology, web development, computer software engineering, content development, graphic design, technical writing, game and interactive media. Most recently, we started expanding to other disciplines. The latest courses are on organizational communication and organizational / industrial psychology. And in terms of, we have provided, and you can access them through the presentation, but we are including examples of assessments that you could use to teach accessibility skills. And the one that we have included is a short assessment that has several questions about disability and accessibility, about 5. And that assessment could be used as a pretest to assess what your students know about accessibility, but also what knowledge about accessibility students acquire after teaching them these concepts. And the link to that resource is there on that table. We also have the example of classrooms activities. And in this instance, the professor created like a guide with different individual or group exercises to explore or apply accessibility topics. So in this specific resource, you will see active learning activities to get your students to learn more about accessibility or start applying accessibility skills into different situations. And it has like a guidance for the professor and how like it was applied and how it could be applied into their own course. We've also included an example of a lesson, and this specific lesson focuses on captioning music and special effects. And it introduces students to the topic of audiovisual accessibility. And it's one of my favorite lessons because it provides like introduction to things that students are mostly familiarized with, closed captioning, probably audio description, but also can be applied or used in different disciplines because of the way this specific lesson was built. Although it was used for a music course, it can be used in different disciplines. And then we also included an example of an assignment, and this specific assignment is has different phases. And the first one is getting students to conduct user research on a specific user interface. And what they do is it has prompts to getting students to ask about how different users, including users with disabilities, interact with that user interface, and then observe them, and then ask questions about it, get their feedback, and then as part of that, use that research to provide recommendations to improve the user experience through accessibility. So getting started, we know that the audience has includes faculty who are at different stages in incorporating accessibility into their own classrooms. But here are some tips that we share always with faculty to help them get started. So it could be as simple as inviting a guest speaker to share their experiences and insights. For example, one instructor from a university in Texas invited different colleagues with disabilities to talk about their experiences using inaccessible technology. You can also create a discussion prompt related to disability and accessibility. For example, an instructor had their students talk about or analyze or discuss what were the legal implications of accessibility within their own discipline and how it related to when they were developing new products. You can assign a reading or a video about disability and accessibility. We always recommend prioritizing those by disabled authors. Also organize demonstrations on assistive technology. On the curriculum repository, there are various resources for getting students to familiarize themselves with out-of-the-box accessibility solutions such as screen readers, etc. Hands-on exercises such as short video, captioning a short video, creating an accessible document or content, or evaluating a website's accessibility. And also have students research disabilities, accessibility related cases, accessible design guidelines and best practices, or even assistive technology. So that concludes my presentation. On the screen, you will have our website, which is teachaccess.org. You can always contact us at info@teachaccess.org and follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook with @teachaccess. Thank you very much.